This is Tyson McGuffin, arguably the fastest server in all of pickleball. And in this video, I'm going to be breaking down 3 specific things that he does to generate insane power on his serves. Throughout the last 8 months, I have analyzed Tyson McGuffin's serve motion, I have analyzed countless amounts of footage, and I have even played with and against him a couple of times. Now, in order for a serve in pickleball to be legal, it needs to be hit below the waist or belly button, and the paddle must be below the wrist at the point of contact. Many players question whether or not Tyson hits his serves legally in order to produce the amount of power that he does. And I can assure you that his serve is in fact 100% legal. This video is sponsored by Selkirk, but more on them later. All right, let's get started with item number 1, which is loading. Okay, so we're loading up for this shot to generate as much coil and power as possible to then unload through the shot. So before we head into that, we need to understand there's 2 different types of serves. We can either hit a closed stance serve or an open stance serve. Open stance is where we have our belly facing our opponents. Closed stance is where we have our non-dominant side facing our opponents. So my feet are closed, my feet are open. You see with a lot of beginner players, they hit with open and they'll patty cake the ball over. There's really no one size fits all on which one is right, whether to hit open or closed. I personally hit open, but I started with hitting a closed stance. So, all that being said, I'm going to be showing you guys how to do both today, and then based off of what I share with you, you guys can decide which one to do. So with our legs being the beginning of the whip that's going to create all of the power for us, we're going to start by bending them. So with a closed stance serve or with an open stance serve, my legs are bent here, and I'm focusing on transferring my weight forward. So I'm leaning up on my toes as I am bending. I'm not bending and leaning back on my heels or just bending flat-footed. You want to be bending, leaning forward, because that's where all of your momentum is going to go. You're going to follow your ball as you make contact. So start by bending, and then we're going to be turning towards the side fence. We want to make it so that our shoulders are flush with the side fence, regardless of if we have a closed or open stance. So we're bending that torso, because with a closed stance, we're actually, when we come through the ball, we're going to be moving our dominant leg forward through that shot to create the power in the topspin. With a open stance, we're going to be doing the opposite, where we drive our non-dominant leg backwards as we hit through our shot. You'll see in the pros, Tyson McGuffin hits with an open stance, and I've watched so much footage of him that I started hitting with an open stance, and now it feels a lot more comfortable for me. And it really, the decision-making process comes down to where my dominant eye is. So my dominant eye is my right eye. So this is the eye that I see things more clearly with. And there's a dominant eye test that you can do where you just look at something in the distance. There's a basketball hoop behind me, but all that I do is I look at the basketball hoop through this hole in my hands, and then I bring my hands closer to me, and whatever eye it ends up on is your dominant eye. Because you'll see one eye, it'll be blurry, and the other eye, like half the image will be cut off on one side and the other eye, it won't. So just bring it in slowly, focus on whatever is in the image, and it'll go to your dominant eye. I want an open stance because it keeps my dominant eye, it would be closed to the court with a closed stance like this, and now it's open to the court with an open stance, so I can see the ball a lot better. But do whatever works for you, figure out which eye is dominant, and then you guys can decide based off of that and what's most comfortable, because it's not a one size fits all. You'll see Ben Johns, he hits with a closed stance like this, and I don't know which eye of his is dominant, but I would assume that it's his left eye, could be his right eye. Anyways, starting here, I bend, turn my shoulders towards the side fence, and then I'm going to put my non-dominant shoulder towards my opponents as I do this, okay? Non-dominant shoulder goes towards my opponents. Both hands are on the paddle as I'm doing this. Not necessarily on the paddle, but with the paddle, okay? Because we're holding the ball in this hand. So this is our loading phase. Knees are bent, torso is turned, and our both arms are coming over together. This is a unit turn, it's very essential. If I fail to bring that arm over, I'm not loading up enough to create as much power. You'll still have power, but just not as much. I've been using the Lux Control Air for the last couple of months now, and I absolutely love it. It's my favorite paddle that I've ever played with. It's great for controlling the kitchen, having tons of control with your shots, and also hitting insane amounts of spin from the baseline. If you'd like to pick one of these up, you can support the channel. It really helps me out by using code ADV-Playbook. You'll also receive a $30 gift card for ordering this. You can order any Selkirk gear and receive a gift card for doing so. All right, this brings us to item number 2 on how to generate insane power on our serves, and that is uncoiling. So now that we're coiled, we're totally loaded up. We've loaded up that whip. We now wanna whip the whip, okay? We wanna unload it as we hit through the shot. The way that we're gonna do that is gonna start with our legs. Okay, we're already totally coiled up. Our legs are gonna be the first things to uncoil. And they do that by just simply standing up through the shot. So they're standing while our hips are rotating forward. And what I'm trying to do is get my dominant shoulder now forward into the shot. So if you guys can see, if I go like this, now you can see that this is forward and this shoulder's back. If that makes sense. So legs to dominant shoulder is now forward through my shot because I rotated my torso, and then it finishes at the tip of my paddle. And now this is gonna have all of the power. It's just generated through my body. I like to think about it like electricity or like a bolt of lightning. It's just generating through my body as I hit through my shot. This uncoil begins in our legs as the ball begins to drop. So as soon as the ball begins to drop, our paddle, notice how with my unit turn, my paddle is facing the side fence, okay? The flat part of it is relatively facing the side fence. And then I'm dropping and I'm doing something called petting the dog. As I drop, the ball drops. Boom, boom, as I hit through the shot. So petting the dog, the reason it's called that is you're petting a small dog. Not a super tiny dog, but just a small dog where you're bent and you're petting that little guy, maybe a medium dog, right? And notice how I'm petting with this side of my paddle, the flat part of my paddle. I'm not petting with the edge of my paddle. If I fail to follow this step, you're gonna see a ton of serves that are just going out into outer space because you're gonna have an open paddle face. If you pet with the edge, your paddle face is now open as you hit through the shot. Whereas if you pet with the bottom of your paddle, with the face of your paddle, excuse me, then you're going to create topspin on the ball and it's going to stay closed throughout the entire motion. Starts with my legs and I'm just uncoiling through that shot as I drop the ball. As soon as I drop, that's when the uncoil begins. So the way that looks, and then I really want to show you guys before I show you what it looks like, my ball needs to be an arm's length away. So I don't want to drop it here and be in this awkward position where it's really close to my body. It's going to go just outside my dominant knee with the drop, or just inside my non-dominant knee if I have a closed stance. So it depends on what stance you use, obviously, but it's going to be just to the dominant side of wherever your knee is. Okay, I have my arm is relatively straight, and then it's also out in front of me. I want to get it as close to the net as possible, because the further out that I hit it, the more power that I'll be able to produce and the quicker I can get it on my opponents. If I hit it up in here, I obviously just lost all this extra space that I could have hit it harder with. And then the last thing that we're doing is just focusing on following our ball. So I'm coiled and now I drop and I just generate all that through it. Notice how I'm not falling backwards as I hit through the shot. I'm leaning in. Boom. Okay, so I'm finishing all of my upper body and lower body aiming in towards the net. So that's the open stance, and with the closed stance, it's the same exact thing. We're gonna bring our dominant leg forward as we hit through the shot, which looks like that. So closed and open stance are the exact same in the sense that we are moving forward through the shot. We're uncoiling as we hit through it. Okay, that brings us to item number 3 on our list on how to generate insane power on our serves, and it's called lag. So some of you may have heard of lag and some of you may have not. But if we follow all the previous steps and don't lag, then we're gonna lose out on a ton of power on our serves. So if you watch Tyson McGuffin in slow-mo, you'll see that the butt of his paddle is facing where he wants to go for a long period of time. There's like this delayed lag where the butt of his paddle right here is actually facing towards where he wants to go. That lag happens right after you drop your paddle down and pet the dog. That lag happens. And so what I like to act like I'm doing is pulling a string through the butt of my paddle here. So I act like I'm pulling a string literally from the back fence to where I want to go. and I'm pulling that string forward until I then create a windshield wiper and come over the ball as I hit through it. A lot of players think that they should keep their paddle either back as they hit through the shot the entire time, and that's going to create topspin, but you're going to lose out on a ton of power. And a lot of players think also that they should break their wrist like this as they hit through the shot. So they should start with the back and then break through, which also isn't what you want to do. You're going to lose out on power by doing that as well. What you want to do is go from cocked back to a neutral position as you make contact with the ball. Neutral is anything from your elbow all the way up through your hand and wrist. This is neutral. This would not be neutral. This would be cocked back. This would be cocked forward. So as I make contact with the ball, it should be at a neutral spot. So it's starting back with that lag. Okay, and then I'm acting like I'm pulling that string forward. And then I go to a neutral position as I actually make contact with the ball. Boom, and it's now neutral. So as I uncoil, I need to make sure that I'm doing that lag. Otherwise, I'm gonna lose out on a ton of power as I hit through the shot. So the way that that looks, so you guys can see as I hit this beautiful Selkirk S1 ball. For those of you that haven't tried these, I am yet to break one of these. So with my lag, as I hit through my shot, that extra lag is what's really going to create that power. So make sure that you're not starting here and finishing here as you come through the shot. You lose out on power, and make sure that you're not just keeping it cocked back. The whole point of it is to keep our arm as relaxed as possible. A lot of the time players, when they want to create power, they think, power, I need to be firm through my shot. I need to actually hit through that shot. When in reality, you're going to lose out on power the more firm you are. You want to think about it like a whip or like spaghetti, okay? As you hit through your shot, you're going to be able to throw faster with a loose arm and with that lag as you hit through it than if you're super stiff. So that lag is going to help you to stay super loose through your shot as you pull that string through the butt of your paddle all the way towards where you want to go. All right, so that is the 3 things that you need to be doing to generate insane power on your serve. One thing that I did not cover in this video is how I set up my paddle, and you can watch that video right here. In that video, I talk about how to make your sweet spot feel huge through lead tape placement, as well as what overgrip and undergrip that I use on my paddle to limit slippage so that my paddle isn't slipping off my hands. Anyways, I hope that you guys enjoyed this video, and I'll see you on the next one.